like they say dark skin black and light skin black. Now they're saying dark biracial and light biracial. So if we're talking
Mm-hmm.
about mulattoes and quadroons and octoroons, then we just need to go back and be specific about who is what. The issue is that that middle ground black, like the Goldilocks, not too dark, not too light, they're the ones that have been these multiple generations of mulattoes that have been convinced now that they are monoracial black people that don't have any white DNA, or the white DNA was from enslavement times. It had nothing to do with like Reconstruction or Jim Crow
Well,
or nothing like
that's kind of the debate, right? Because like some people believe, black comes in all shades, and some people are very distinct. Like black is 4C hair, dark skin, African features. Like some people, but most people in America believe that black comes in all shades, right? And so that if you are biracial, then you're automatically black. But people confuse that, like, because it's all made up. It's all a construct, right? There's a difference between like your DNA being like fully African and then being like multi-ethnic. Totally different types
that.
of
Okay.
DNA. Even though those
Yeah.
two could like share a phenotype, but
Right.
that's why I think that being multi-ethnic should come into the picture instead of just like debating biracial all the time. It's like, okay, well, if you're multi-ethnic, that means one thing. If you're biracial, that means one thing. And then if you're fully monoracial, that's a whole other thing. But within this whole construct, it just goes based off of what you're perceived as, and it's wild.
But exactly, but that's an arbitrary thing to say, is perceived by who. And so if we look at like how the census used to be done, they would have these
It's the
people called
police. The police are gonna see me as black, so I'm black. So it's like, I guess it's by whoever is in keeping up the construct, or I don't fucking know. I mean,
right. It's like who's redefining it, who is my whole argument is that if biracial becomes its own race, the majority of black people in this country would fall under that biracial definition. So there's no sense of redefining black Americans as biracial, because basically what I'm like, it seems like what everybody's saying is that biracial means children of an interracial couple. Right?
mm-hmm.
Okay, so here you go. If two mulattoes have a kid, is that kid black or is it biracial?
Well, I consider my kids mixed. They're
Are,
multi-ethnic,
are
right? I consider
is your
that.
husband the same mixture as you?
Yes, but they came out different phenotypes. Like one of them
Well,
is
yeah,
more white
that's
passing. My
that
daughter looks
happens
like me. My son, he looks like Hispanic. Like they all have different phenotypes because we have a bunch of different DNA at play, and they could turn out any kind of way when it comes to like us having kids together. You know what I'm saying? So I do
when
consider them
people are
like
talking about
multi-ethnic.
when people
Mm-hmm.
are talking about the Eve gene, um, that has like it's so far gone with us here in America. Um, all women carry the Eve gene because that's how humans work. It doesn't mean like black women can create a white child if they were like two people straight from Nigeria. They're not having like white kids unless they're albino. The reason different phenotypes come out of black women in America is because of that historical admixture, because there's been so much going on here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I'm getting like kind of frustrated by it because
It's frustrating because that's why I want to have these conversations, because I'm trying to, but here's my stance too. So when it comes to, these debates about being biracial and it's not a race, and I'm like, okay, well, the racial construct in America, because that was my, I remember one time I was like, so we don't fit into the racial construct. We're neither black or white, but we'll try to
no,
be like, well, because the one
we
drop rule, right? You're considered black in America because
but do
that's
we
how the
have,
construct works. But
are you
let me finish. But so I was like, okay, so why don't we have our own like you said, that's where I was at that point. I was like, we should have our own categorization in America. But then people were like, well, the whole concept of race itself is based on racism. So I was like, okay, well, that made me wake up. I'm like, maybe I should just reject the whole concept of it and just go by ethnicity. Like that makes more sense to me. Because if the whole concept is based on racism and we're so overly attached to this concept of race, that's a social construct that is it help? I don't know. Because it's just based on image. Like, hey, these people have an image. These people have a different image. And most people want to gravitate towards people who are similar to them, So I guess it's like, I don't know. I just feel like I kind of want to reject. I don't really identify with like the whole biracial thing anymore. I just more identify with ethnicity now. I feel like that's more, but a lot of us, there's so many people with multiple different ethnicities. So there's a difference between being biracial though, because those are like, okay, my mom black, my dad white, but you could have different multiple ethnicities, like, oh, I'm German and Irish, but you're still like, your parents still are the same phenotype. That means you know what I'm
Right.
saying? So it's like, it's a lot
Now,
to it. There's a lot to it. What
have
do
you
you,
ever had a white guy tell you that he's mixed and then say something like, I'm German and Irish?
Hey, beautiful.
how you doing? Welcome to my live. Race is debatable. Hold on. Somebody said, trying to navigate these combos for the sake of my kids. Yeah, it's good. It's good you're thinking about it because yeah, it does get brought up. We become more racially aware around like middle school, high school. You know what I'm saying? When you're kids, nobody thinking about that. But when we get a little older, you know what I'm saying? But somebody said race is a debatable social construct, but my multi-ethnicity is not up for debate. Period. Race uphold the white supremacist construct that people can have an opinion on. Ethnicity, they can never tell you who you are. That's ingrained in your DNA. Facts.
Right.
Facts.
I know that there's a plight. I'm just chiming into as I'm walking in, but I know there's like a plight that I've heard that light skinned black people as to dark skinned, like there's a real racist biased.
That's something that's on like the colorism, like light skin versus dark skin.
Yeah.
That is a thing in the black community. It really is. Because, they say that, light skinned people, they have privilege. And there is a certain amount of privilege when it comes to it, because like
But they also
proximity
say
to
that we
whiteness.
do not experience colorism from them. So, like, in the black community in America, I've been told by, dark-skinned black females on this app while they're calling me, soft and weak and confused about my race and all the stereotypes that go into, our existence. That's not considered colorism to them. They are.
It's not considered colorism because colorism, by the definition, it says it only affects dark skinned people. So when people are being
It says
discriminated
most
within the
often.
black community,
It says most often affects
most often
dark.
affects
Right.
dark
These are also
people.
people who don't agree with the definition of racism that's written in the same book. You can't use the book to validate one stand when you're trying to discredit the same book on a different definition. See what I'm saying?
True. These definitions and terms that are always rearranged, flip flop to, you know what I'm saying? It's always, but that's what I'm saying. If these terms and definitions can be, change, why can't social constructs change? Because like that's what people think that race in America, it's not going nowhere. It's concrete. But I'm like, so many things change. Like everything,
Okay.
the only thing consistent in life is change. Right? Nothing stays the same forever. So I just feel like we should challenge these social constructs and these things that we've, I don't think it serves us anymore. You know what I'm saying? What do you think about that, Michael? Do you think okay, we're talking about like the social construct of race and how it is in America. So I just don't think it serves us. Like it don't, like saying, oh, this person's, because back in the day, yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I feel. Like me and you, I don't know if you can pay attention, but me and you, host, we talk like we pronounce all our syllables, shit like that. Like I can get a little ghetto, and I feel like you get a little ghetto too. You feel me? But
Yeah.
I got a community. I'm very, very Latino. I'm Mexican, Puerto Rican. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like there's a racist. I could journey inside that I can't catch a break guy. Victim mentality. But it's really if I come, if I come with it to my que onda que dice chico mami. You know what I mean? If I come with it,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like I'm still included, but there is individuals like, oh, he's not really Mexican like us. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And that's just gonna be that. Yeah, that's just gonna be it. That's always gonna be it. You feel me?
That's always gonna be there, right? That's always gonna be there.
Facts.
So you're multi-ethnic. You're multi-ethnic, right?
Right.
That's cool.
My
That's cool.
my auntie is she's really she's like your skin color. You know what I mean? That's my auntie, my blood auntie. You know what I mean? But I don't look any of it. Like if I show you a picture of my grandfather on my father's side, he's black, but I don't have any of it. You know what I mean? I know how I look and I know where I fit, and it's all right. You know what I mean? But it
Right.
As what was his name? J.E. I don't know if I don't know your plight, but and what girls are saying that to you. But do you think it's just because of the tone of your skin, bro?
It has to do with the like I'm not going to take a subservient or simpish role when people are speaking foolery. I think that has to do with it. It has to do with the whole like emasculating black men so that we fall in line to a narrative that is dictated by, I guess, the darkest skinned females today. But this was a conversation. I don't know if you know Brother Legend. Um, I was trying to make this point on his live one day when someone was like, you need to shut up, white boy, something other. We're going to give people with more melanin here the preference. And then
Yeah,
at that
that's the
moment, we
problem.
realized what was happening was what I was trying to explain. So when you're diminishing people's blackness because of a skin color, that is in itself proving that you or that person doesn't understand the construct of race here in America or in several of the colonies. Uh, the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico were under Spanish law, so they had different rules. Uh, that's just some of the things that we need to talk about. It's part of the reason why Dominicans say they're not black. They're Dominican is because they've had that privilege since the Haitian Revolution to separate themselves from blackness. Correct?
Right, right, right.
So
I
that's
seen. I
what
was.
Black Americans are worried
What should I say?
about.
I don't
Us
know.
Biracials are about to do is try to separate ourselves from blackness to have this privilege over people, which would just create another hurdle, like the homosexuals and the trans community did in the 90s and early 2000s, because we're still talking about black equality, and they have already surpassed us. And right.
I feel and like I'm not black, so you could just
No,
discredit
dude, you
my
said,
opinion.
hold on. You just said you're Puerto Rican, correct?
I mean, I am, but I don't look it. So if I don't
What
look
do
at
you
it, so I'll take my plight. I have no problem who thinks I'm what. I really don't give a shit. You know what I mean? But out of respect, I just said that. You know what I mean? But I hop on streams and I really don't like this one girl. I don't remember her name, but she made a live and she's like white women fetishizing black men, and she's like, I don't want my son, growing up and be fetishized by white women, blah blah blah. And maybe it's just a preference. White women could just be like, I like that swag, I like that get down, whatever. You know what I mean? Like it could be. But if it was a white woman saying that, I don't want my boy growing up, with a black woman. Like you could see how obvious it would be
Yeah,
racist.
bro. Even in our community, so earlier I was on a live where dark skinned women were talking about, light skinned women, if they are just light skinned or if they're actually pretty or not. And so the things that they were saying about Ice Spice, if tables were turned again, they would say, oh, that's colorism. You're just like Eurocentric. You're using Eurocentric standards of beauty, blah, 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 blah. But the reality is some women are just not good looking until people stop blaming their skin color. It's just a fact, bro. Like people just have to
looking for an enemy.
Like the whole body
Right.
shaming thing. I think we should bring it back, honestly, because the delusion that's going into some people, it's making me question myself.
We should bring back body shaming.
Yeah.
Damn, he took, and he was like, let's take 4 steps back in history.
I think the
Hey.
pendulum. No, it's about the pendulum swinging. Because at one point, like in the 2000s, it was mad crazy. Everybody, like, it got really bad, like bulimia and like all those unhealthy dynamics. And then the pendulum swings all the way to the other side, where it's like, well,
No,
that's unhealthy too. It's about
I'm not
having
just talking about weight. I'm not just talking about weight. I'm talking about like you're just ugly. Like I'm sorry. You could be thin. You could have a fit body. You call them butterface.
Hello?
Hey.
But those goes into the
I got a
beauty
question.
politics. That's a whole different conversation. Oh, the background says being biracial versus being multi. I gotta fix this thing. It's kind of blurry. I'm sorry, but I would like to hear Angel. Hi, Angel. Welcome to the panel.
Hey. Yeah, I got a question. What exactly is the argument?
So I just wanted to have an open discussion about being biracial versus being multi-ethnic, and about should we identify more with ethnicity than race, because race is a social construct that divides people and segregates people, and I don't think it serves. So I just want to know people's opinion about just being biracial versus being multi-ethnic, kind of just having a
whatever you have to say about the subject. What's
I got
prominent
you.
in your mind?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I apologize. Go ahead.
What's
well for me.
anything you got to say? What do you feel? What's on your heart? Let that
Okay.
fly.
Let me
Yeah,
fix
so-
this while y'all talk.
So So let's start off with what is your guys' definition of biracial and what's your definition of multi-ethnical? Because your
Okay.
definition could be different than mine. So I just want to kind of
It's kind of
lay down that basis. What do you guys think?
So biracial, it just means your parents are like race is based off phenotype, right? So that just means your parents are two different phenotypes. But if you're multi-ethnic, that kind of more connects you to like your roots and your culture. Like if I say I'm black versus white, that there's nowhere in the world that say black or white. Like that don't really connect you to like any culture.
right.
You know what I'm saying? So, but if I say
Yeah.
but if I say I'm Irish and African American, that kind of makes more sense to me in my mind because it's like that kind of connects me to like my roots and my culture, and you know what I'm saying. So that's kind of why I'm debating it. I'm like, I really think it'd be better if we, go more based off ethnicity because that connects you to your roots and your culture, ancestors, your lineage. Because that's the problem with being biracial, that they feel like they don't have an identity. There's no
Yeah, but
And
that's like the
you're
problem with society. Is society will
We
look
don't
at a
have an identity
biracial.
anymore.
I'll look
Yeah.
at you and say that's biracial. I'm not going to say, that she kind of hits me like an Irish black girl. You know what I mean? Like I'm not going to like social society. I don't think they're really So it's like yeah.
Yeah.
So okay. So you're saying that multi-ethnical is more being in touch with your culture, right? Your culture.
With your lineage, with your your lineage, your heritage.
Okay. And you're saying that we should identify more with our ethnicity, our culture,
So
rather than calling each other by a specific race. Is that what you're saying?
Are you biracial or like multi-ethnic or anything? Can I ask you your background on that?
Yeah, sure. So I am Hispanic. I do have Colombian, Cuban in me, Spanish, from Spain. I've got some of that, but I don't necessarily identify as any of that. Honestly, I don't think that I necessarily care. I'm me. I'm my own person. I have my own personality traits, and the same goes with my wife. I mean, she has African descent in her. She's 25%, and then she's also got Caucasian in her as well, which is the majority of her. Well, and also Asian. She's Thai as well, and we both kind of fall into the category of we don't want to necessarily identify as any of that. We don't think it really matters. We don't think that anyone should judge us based off of what kind of race we are. It's more of we're human beings and we have a way of life that we choose to live. And why can't it just be that? Why does everyone have to say, oh, you're black, you're white? That just, like you said, it causes divisiveness. It separates us. And why do we have to be that way?
Can I?
Right, but don't you agree,
Angel? Let me just go. Like when you defined yourself, you went off of nations, and when you defined your wife, you went off of races, and so that's because you are Hispanic, right? So you're identifying as Cuban. What does that mean? Caucasian, Colombian. What type of Colombian are you?
I said Hispanic. I said Hispanic.
Hispanic not a race.
And then that's
Hispanic is not a race. Are you a European?
I'm fine with Hispanic.
Are you a European only Hispanic?
No, I just said Colombian and Cuban, which is South America.
Okay, so again, not races, bro. There are Caucasian only Cubans and Caucasian only Colombians. There are black only Colombians and black only Cubans. Are you
right? I think that the problem is when biracial people are black mixed with something, it's way of a distinctive fact. It's obvious all the time. When you're white and Latino, it's like,
Right, because the influence of the black gene on the white gene is so dramatically different than when you mix Native American and white or Asian and white. Correct?
Because I look white as fuck, and
I don't think I necessarily understand what you're trying to prove. I guess
what I'm saying is that because of your Hispanic is okay. So basically, my stance is that most Hispanics are passing racially as Hispanic when Hispanic is not a race. So
right, or white. We pass it as Hispanic or white, but when a black
white guys that I meet from Mexico City try to have racial reciprocity with me, like they're a minority too. But what they're betting on is the ignorance of black Americans not understanding how much white privilege goes into the oppression of Native American tribes and black people in Latin countries. It's the same as like most Hispanics won't accept Haitians as Latino. Do you understand why Haitians are Latino?
Right, but not to anybody's plight. We don't Mexicans, Salvadorians, they're like, ew. We're like, we don't like them. Like, it's weird. Like, there's levels to this. You know what I mean?
There's not levels. That's why I'm having this conversation.
There's a hierarchy in every. So okay, all these cultures, like all these Latin American cultures, for the most part, like Mexico is 90% mestizo, right? So there are some black people and there are some white only people that still live there and indigenous populations. But for the most part, everybody got mixed. Same way in Cuba, there are still more black people in places like Venezuela, a lot of mulattoes in Brazil and the Dominican Republic. But even Dominicans will identify with Hispanic as their race or Dominican as their race or nationality before they identify with blackness. So there's an issue there. There's still that colonization tactic that has driven people who are multi-generations of mulattoes to become something other than black. And that's the issue in America. We don't need to do that because of the intensity of the one drop rule here. We need to fix that trauma because it's still dividing the black community. So when we have people like the leaders of the NAACP who are white passing and biracial, who are being written out of our history, like Homer Plessy, who was an octoroon, when they're being blacklisted into a phenotype that didn't exist on their bodies, there's an issue. We don't have one of the conversations we had in here was like, what do we do for biracial leaders? And all of our black leaders, maybe not Marcus Garvey and maybe not Martin Luther King Jr., but the majority of them were very light at the time because they used that privilege to gain that attention. So even Huey Newton from the Panthers, light skin, Malcolm X, light skin, Rosa Parks, light skin, right? So these are all biracial black people.
Angela Davis was light skin too.
Absolutely.
Right. I mean, I feel it's like an internal thing because when I saw Miss Magic, gorgeous lady, by the way, I knew she was black. I knew there was some in there, you know what I mean? But I knew I knew it, you know? But what about like the 30% black that are like so light? Yeah,
you
know what I mean? But they're still, you're still thrown into the black culture into what discouraging factor.
Why does it matter? Why do we keep saying we're black or white? Why does it matter?
I think it's a person, an individual's person, how they feel about the subject, how they feel about inclusion, how they feel about exclusion. Because me, I sound like a white boy. I like to pronunciate all my words. I like every syllable. I'm gonna get it in. I swear to you. You know what I mean? But when I'm around Latinos, I don't.
Why does it matter? That is a good point because Angel. Sorry, I had to take a call earlier. I didn't get to hear your full. But what you're saying is I'm not gonna base my whole identity around race because I'm gonna. That's kind of what I'm saying. I'm like I want to base my identity. Like I want to acknowledge my ancestry, my lineage. You know what I'm saying? Where I come from, and that's one thing. But like I don't want to. Base my whole identity off of a social construct that, I'm just, that's meant to divide people at the end of the day,
I agree. And that's what it's come to nowadays.
But ethnicity,
the black, white.
Also a social construct. And it will eventually divide
DNA, people. No, DNA, it can't be a cultural. There has to be some things that are not social constructs. Like a tree is not a social construct. Like a human body is not a social construct. And the DNA within your body is not a social construct.
How we define those things separate from something else.
It's how we define them. It's what we give meaning to.
There's a human body and then there's a dog body. Those are social constructs because we have to have words to divide things into things.
If you're so worried about the division of it, you're going to attempt every single person you meet with a divisional aspect, sentiment behind your whole being. You know what I mean? That's how I really do feel. Like if you're all focused, I'm already not going to be included. You're going to come with exclusivity in your approach to every individual, every situation. Like I feel it's a thing.
That's what harms biracial people, especially biracial people who are African American, European in America, because we're so black versus white. You know what I'm saying? And it's like you have to pick a side, and it's like the oppressed versus the oppressed. And I get it. Like I understand history. I understand. I get it. But it's like that is so. I don't know. I'm just tired of this black versus. A lot of black people. There's a lot of black people who are like, yes, these white people, they are oppressors, they are enemies, they're da-da-da. And there's white people who probably feel that way too. But it's like, I don't know. I just want us to move forward from like the white versus black.
Can I just say one piece? Because
I don't know. That's my opinion.
I got to sign off here because I got to go make dinner. So I just want to say one piece, and then I'm out of here. I actually agree with you, Miss Magic. Yeah, I agree with you. I just don't think that we should identify ourselves black, white, or even ethnically wise. Yeah, it's good to be in touch with where we come from, and it's good to explore those things. But I don't think that we should ever present ourselves with, oh, I'm this, I'm that. It should just be based off of our personality, our characteristics, our traits. That's what we should base each other off of. That's what we should judge each other off of. We should just be people. We're human. We're all human beings, no matter what. It doesn't matter what the color of our skin is. It doesn't matter. So this black versus white construct that people try to push, this agenda that they try to push, is wrong. So, like I said, it doesn't matter what race you are. It doesn't matter what ethnicity you come from. It doesn't matter. We're all just human beings. So
it ain't where you're from. It's how you come. Yeah.
Yeah, I hate that we try to push white privilege and black people are oppressed, yada yada yada. We're all just human beings, okay? It's not us.
There is one
thing versus another thing. So that's my piece. I'm gonna sign off and thank you guys for the conversation.
Thank you, sir.
That's
thank
the
you.
problematic part is that people who identify with their ethnicity and nationality are going to be like, "There's no white privilege." There is white privilege.
There is white privilege, but if I talk with a bunch of Mexicans, definitively, I'm gonna go in there joyous. I'm gonna be over there. I'm the star of the show, of course, everywhere I go. But I'm gonna already expect them, definitely 100% when I leave the table, them to be like, "Oh, he ain't one of us." You know what I mean? It's cool. It's like, right. I don't care. You know what I mean?
The whole gaslighting thing from Mexicans is that they've been white here since 1850. The only time they were counted as Mexican on the census was 1930, and then before the whole thing in World War II, they became white on census again. This is any fault. Like, they've had this privilege through Jim Crow that they've been lying to black people about, to the point where black people are allowing them to say the N-word just because they're brown.
No, they don't. Is there no sound? Hello?
I hear everybody.
They don't hear us. Oh no!
They don't hear anybody, but I
might restart the live.
We hear you. I don't know. I think JE hears you too, but I hear you. Showtime. I hear everybody.
Let me try to do. Hold on. Let me try to do a Showtime real quick.
Oh, you can flip your cameras on and off too. That's been happening.
Yeah.
They've been kicking people.
Okay, your argument is that ethnicity is a social construct as well, and that people who identify with their ethnicity are gonna deny white privilege?
Like Hispanics who identify with their ethnicity today will deny black people that there is more racism projected towards black people today. There's a Pew.org multiracial statistics. You can go, I can pull it up or you can look it up. Is basically saying that Hispanics think that black people are just complaining. So on here, on this, all the green dots with the black circle or the black outline around it, that's Eurasian mixture going back into Africa. And those are all the tribes, not all of them, but all the tribes that they did DNA testing on that had Eurasian admixture around 2000 BC or whatever, up until the present time. So that's what I'm talking about, is like, there's no pure African even. There's no, like, there's Pygmy and Afo, which are deep in the Congo. They're the only, like, not really mixed tribes. So Bantu expansion that happened like 5,000 years ago mixed all Africans with Bantu, and then the Arab and Somali and Horn of Africa later came back in and then started mixing like Berber and North Africa.
My question is, what is the damn root cause of race? Do you feel like people naturally just discriminate against people who don't look like them, or
yeah? So, the root I
you
found,
think it's a natural thing that's just never going to go away, or
yeah? So starting like 5,000 BC during the desertification of the Sahara. So instead of like herding cattle and walking with the cattle like Fulani, they started to settle down and make farms. That's when they started colonizing Africa. And eventually, other Africans like Somalis and Ethiopians got fed up with them and started enslaving Bantu. That's when Bantu discrimination started around 2000 BC. And so then Arabs came in around 700 AD and started enslaving Somalis in, Horn of Africa first. And then they were like, no, just go into the Congo and take Bantu people. And then it reinvigorated Bantu propaganda and discrimination. That's what we're living in the last phases of that today.
Propaganda is propaganda, right? It's like the media, portraying
we've all
like
been
people
doing
a
it to
certain
each
way.
other.
So a lot of it, I don't think that it's natural. I don't think that it's natural for people to just naturally just dislike people just because they look different from them. I don't think that's a natural thing. I think it's more so propaganda. Like you said, I think it's more so people, being, they only viewing like the negative aspects of a different culture. And so, you know what I'm saying? It's being uneducated. It's propaganda and uneducation. I think that's more what fuels racism, right? So let me see. Somebody want to come up? But I just think that's what we should. It's not about people identify. I think if people identify with ethnicity, I think that would be a good thing. But I think that it wouldn't stop people from being uneducated and the propaganda that's going on. But let me end Showtime. So hold on. But I think that's more so the issue that we should, face.
This guy's black too.
Yeah, but I think it's more so about propaganda and uneducation that fuels racism more versus people like naturally like we all just be communicating with you, like, you know what I'm saying? Like I just don't think it's a natural thing. I don't know, but why? But the natural next question is why is there so much uneducation and propaganda put in? It's because to divide people, right? That's
Yeah, they assume it's unity amongst people that are like them to turn to somebody and say that's different, that's weird. That's what it is, They're under the assumption that they're being unified, actually, but it actually is division. Yeah,
and that doesn't work, honestly. I don't feel like it works.
Could you just clarify that? Who's under the impression that they're unifying? I just jumped in and I just wasn't sure.
About like YT racist people like KKK that they're all unified because they hate a different group. You know what I'm saying? Like people like that. Like that's like they're trying to unify just
me talk like me. People. Yeah, this other person's weird. That's weird. Why they do that? That's weird. Yeah.
And that's wrong. That's weird and wrong that people just want to unify.
I think what it is that there's such a strong cohesiveness under like the umbrella of Black culture that there's now this desire to like create an antithesis to Black culture, which is white culture. But like white culture doesn't really exist, right? Like there's Italian, Irish, there's,
that's real.
Other groups fall under whiteness because America decided to claim them as white, like Jewish people or like whatever. But like those are very different ethnic groups that their marginalizations can't really be categorized similarly to like Black marginalization that's a little bit more global. And so I think it is weird. Like you're right. Like it's very clear that they want to unite to subjugate and to like adhere to like that like pseudoscientific dominance and superiority that they think that they have.
Yeah.
Could I ask you a question then? What I would ask is when was the formation of this ideal of like European whiteness? Like what was the purpose of them?
Oh, I know that was to keep power. Okay, because the Creoles, right? There was the Creole. That was back when there was like a category for like mixed people, right? And they were getting power. And so the white immigrants came over to Louisiana, right? The Italians, the Germans, all these different white immigrants started coming over. And so they united under this guise of like whiteness, that we all look alike. Let's put our cultural differences aside and just unite under whiteness so we could take power away from this group that's coming up. So that's kind of what happened. It's about power.
Even before
like in the 1400s.
I was going to say that in the 1400s, like even before whiteness existed as like a solidified idea or a construct, there was always something that kind of represented that, right? And I think initially in the 1400s, what represented that was like European Christianity, right?
Right.
And so then you come into the Western Hemisphere, and then in the Spanish Empire, in the Caribbean, Central South America, and Mexico, it was your ties to being a Christian from Spain, right? And then there's like racial caste systems that were built before anybody ever stepped foot in the United States of America that wasn't from Spain. There were already racial caste systems that were existing, that were calling people black, mixed, comparing them to animals, which is where the word mulatto comes from. Zambo, mulatto zambo, like these are all like derogatory terms for like mixed folk.
Mulatto does not mean mule. It comes from the same root that means hybrid in Latin. So we need to move past that. It's a root word.
No, in Spanish, and the Spanish American Empire,
Yes, I understand.
the word
The
mulatto,
Latin came
the
before.
word mulatto in the Spanish American Empire was about inbreeding and comparing people who were inbred with Spanish conquistadores
not inbred.
yes, it absolutely was.
Inbred is into your family. Inbred is in your family.
So again, so like I don't know what you're talking about. I'm talking about in the as someone who is Puerto Rican and Dominican, who is very well versed in the history of Latin America. The word mulatto in Latin America was comparing people who were mixed race to donkeys. That was what it was in Latin America.
And the etymology, look, I don't want to argue, I don't want to debate about the etymology of mulatto. That's a whole other topic. But I like what you're saying about like the racial caste system. It's always changed. It's always like, it's been different at one point. Like it was based off like religion and Christianity at one point, and then there was all these different, caste systems for like all these different levels of being mixed. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
What does Walmart say?
oh, go ahead, Walmart. You want to talk Walmart?
Is Puerto Rican a Hispanic?
Yes, it is. Puerto Rican. I'm Puerto Rican.
I had a problem with lives like some of the black people say like, oh, Puerto Rican is not a race. Like you're just.
It's ethnicity, is it, or nationality?
Right?
They don't believe me. You're just white. You're not your dad.
Well,
Nah, you have to go in there like, "What's up, chico? ¿Qué dice mami?" Epa. That's how you do
So
it.
yeah,
I don't like when they say that.
Puerto Ricans are an ethnic group. They are a nation. They are basically under U.S. colonial rule. They're a territory of the United States of America, so Puerto Ricans are United States citizens. But Puerto Rican is not a race. They're Puerto Ricans.
Puerto Rican is a nationality.
Are they mostly
Spanish
mixed
is the
race?
ethnicity.
They say you can't be mixed though. They say you can't be mixed.
Is probably black because you live in America. And the colony.
Well, the thing is that there are Puerto Ricans who are white. There are Puerto Ricans who are black. There are Chinese Puerto Ricans. There are Jewish Puerto Ricans.
I understand that. So explain to me why 90% of people on that island identified as white in the 2010 census.
Because of the racial caste system and also the social conditioning of the United States of America. Before the United States of America did the census, they used to categorize these people as white, because if you were categorized as white, then you would be granted certain opportunities. So this is really like the brainwashing that is shown when then people decide, when the census went from, first they used to go into the homes and identify the people first. Then when it went from people self-identifying on the census, they were already brainwashed into conditioned to think that, oh, if I check off white, I will be granted more opportunity under like the racial system in the United States of America. Now, if you look now, what's going on in Puerto Rico is that a lot of people are now deconditioning from that. So that's social conditioning, where those people were self-identifying as white, when most of those people were not white. They were actually mixed race and intergenerationally mixed. That in their families, they would have people who presented as white, presented as black, or presented as more racially ambiguous. But there are absolutely Puerto Ricans who are straight up white, who are straight up German, who are straight up English, who are straight up like white European and stayed white European, and recently immigrated there, maybe like in the mid 1900s. So it's much more nuanced than that.
Melanie, what should I tell them? 'Cause my mom's European and my dad's Puerto Rican and Italian.
The what?
What should I tell the people? Because like my mom's European, but my dad's Puerto Rican and Italian. But they say you're just white too. You can't be Puerto Rican or Italian.
I think you should go by ethnicity. I think ethnicity.
I mean, if you want to be specific about your ethnicity, then be specific about your ethnicity. You could just say like you're ethnically mixed, you're Puerto Rican, and whatever your mother's European is. But also, you also need to be honest about what you present as in the society that you live in. If you live in the United States of America, Walmart wife, you live in California, you're white. You're a white man to most people. That is how you phenotypically present. So people will categorize you as white. And you can also just say, yeah, I know I am phenotypically presenting as white, but I am also ethnically Puerto Rican, this, that, and the third. Who knows what kind of Puerto Rican you are? You'd probably have to do a genetics test to kind of see what mixture you inherited from your Puerto Rican parent. But yeah, you are phenotypically white. Like people would identify you as a white man.
Yeah, I understand, but they shouldn't. If people say you're mixed, they shouldn't be judging you.
No, yeah, well, that's gonna happen, bro. It's gonna happen, bro. It's my goats. Yeah, that's a social construct. Don't worry.
That's how the social construct works. That the social construct, they go based off of how you're perceived. You know, that's how it works. It goes based off phenotype. Like if you're phenotypically black, even if you're biracial, they're gonna say you're black. If you're phenotypically white, even if you're the same, you could have two different. Have you seen those twins that are
right? I have.
One of them is totally white presenting. One of them is totally black presenting. Yeah. But in society, even though they're the same, like they have the same parents, they're gonna go through
something completely different in their nurturing, and it just is what it is. Take it like a grain of salt. Don't take this too personal, Walmart. I love your store. You know what I mean? Just go. It's not like somebody could tell you what you are, bro. Nobody could tell you, hey, you're one of us, good boy. Come on, boy. They're not gonna. You know what you are, dude. Just stand on what you are.
I see racially profile pictures because I'm an activist. I saw like last week, like the sheriff only want to talk to me, call calmly, but kick all the Southern people out of the protest.
Well, I've been it happens a lot on these live streams. You know, I'll not be included in a primarily black debate or even let into the live stream. That's a them thing. That ain't a me thing. Or they have an agenda in their live streams.
Yeah, I have that.
Don't take it personal, man.
Post, there's someone who's trolling me in the comments. If you could mute pro shit poster or whatever he is, like I don't know why he's trolling me in the comments. Like go away, sir. Like you're just mad because I basically had a post that spoke on certain Mexicans having African ancestry. Yes, there are Afro-Mexicans. They fucking exist. Goodbye.
I'm just trying to learn more stuff to get educated because I am autistic ADHD for the common people. I'm trying to just get educated in their lives.
Sure.
So if it's like
Walmart, have you ever had a situation where someone thought you were just white and they were saying racist stuff about black people?
Right.
What do you do in that situation? Do you stand up
for black people?
You stand up for black people?
Yeah, I do because my uncle's daughter's baby daddy's black, and I have Filipino, my husband Asian, and I have Hispanic in my family, and I have white in my family. I have all races in my family: Asian, black, Mexican, and white.
Do you recognize that you probably have black in your ancestry because you're Puerto Rican?
I never checked my ancestry.
But you understand the history of Puerto Rico, the mixture that happened there, correct?
Probably, because I met my uncle. He's like full Puerto Rican.
Right, the KKK would kick out so many people if they were 23 million over there.
When people who are perceived as white and they are biracial, when those situations happen, how you respond to that situation is what defines your blackness. So once you out yourself as being black to those people who perceived you as white or Hispanic only, they will treat you a different way from that point forward.
Right.
So, I want to ask for the Latino people, what do you think the root of anti-blackness comes from? Do you think it's come from propaganda?
They started it. They started slavery. What do
you think?
I was gonna say that's definitely social historical conditioning. Like Freeman is that Freeman who said that? Like the first
that they started slavery.
Literally, the first enslaved people in the Western Hemisphere was brought by the Spaniards to the Caribbean.
Yeah, 100 years before.
Let Melanie talk. Let Melanie talk real quick.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. I just want to
100 years before
the slave trade in the Western Hemisphere was started by the Spaniards and then continued by the Portuguese, even though in the on the east the slave trade was started by the Portuguese first, right? So the Portuguese were the first people to kidnap Africans from West Africa and bring them first to Portugal. But then once there was like a decree that and a few papal bulls that were released by the Catholic Church that gave basically the Spanish that landed in the Caribbean the right to civilize the people there, bring them under Christian, make them Christianize them, and also to take on any West Africans there to help with the labor there. And they did that, quote unquote, to stop subjugating and enslaving the indigenous people there, even though they were just forcing everybody to just be Christian and they were enslaving everybody. So,
can you summarize that again so I could comprehend? I didn't really.
Yeah, summarize. Talk to me like I'm 10.
I didn't really comprehend all that, honestly. I just want to like
so in the beginning years, if I can, so the beginning.
No, wait,
years,
I want Melanie.
Melanie.
You just
like from the beginning, there was a racial undertone to enslavement and the slave trade in general, but it was also very much led by like the Catholic Church. So the Catholic Church basically gave the Portuguese and any Europeans for that matter the right to subjugate a people and bring them to Christianity. They basically were like, these people are uncivilized. And they need to civilize these people under Christianity.
Got it now.
So this is what first gave the Portuguese the quote unquote right from the Catholic Church to enslave West Africans in West Africa and bring them to Portugal.
And do you
Once Christopher Columbus landed in the Caribbean, they then gave that right to the Spanish colonies and the Spanish in the Caribbean to do to the indigenous people, but also in order to take up some of the weight from the enslavement of the indigenous folks in the Caribbean by the Spanish, they gave the Spanish permission to bring over West Africans from Africa over to the colonies to work the land and and to help develop the colonies in the name of Spain and in the name of the church.
Okay, that makes sense. So I'm gonna just say one thing. I'm gonna let Lauren speak in a minute. So basically, hold on. So basically, do you think that's my question? Do you think that mindset? Hold on, my son. Go ahead, Lauren. Go ahead.
Lauren.
I just wanted to say one thing. Slavery didn't start with the Spaniards.
Oh my God.
I've heard that. I've heard that too. I heard black people sold
literally started with the Spaniards. What the fuck
Here
are
we
you
go.
talking about?
It didn't start with the Spaniards. There was
I heard that too. I'm not taking sides.
That's the transatlantic slave trade, but slavery has been around as long as as old as humanity.
Yes, okay, but we're talking about chattel slavery. We're talking about the transatlantic slave trade that was specific to race. So we're talking about the slave trade that was specific to race, which is the transatlantic slave trade. All other slave trades we are not speaking about. That's irrelevant, Lauren.
None of them were. Well, I know. I did. I was just saying because you started that off with that Spaniard started the slave.
She was asking about race. She was asking about race.
You just said that, so I just wanted to.
You guys just agreed with one another.
Yeah.
No. If it's specific to race, right? Like the Arab slave.
Is it specific to black or is it specific to race?
Native Americans were enslaved first.
Sorry? Wait,
Native Americans were enslaved first by the Spanish, and the English, and the French.
Spanish?
The Arabs.
All right. I want to get back on topic. I don't want to debate about who started slavery. That's a whole different topic. But I want to. I want to go back to. I was going to ask. So, do you think that mindset still plays out in Latin American community that they view black people as uncivilized, and so they view that's why they don't want to. That's why so many people don't want to. They deny their blackness because they feel like that's like.
Well, let's
is that what the root of it is?
Things real quick. Not all Black Latino Americans deny their blackness. Like there are many Black Latinos who are very proud to be Black. They call themselves Negro. There was a whole Black Pride movement in Latin America. So, especially. You could talk about Afro Boricuas like Arturo Samberg. You could talk about Afro-Cuban musicians that literally call themselves Afro-Cuban. Like there are large sects of Black people who are very proud to be Black. So let's not stereotypically
they're uncolonizing themselves.
Black
they're
folk.
uncolonizing.
I think what we want to speak about now is the social conditioning and the racial caste system that reinforced racism in Latin America. And so what happened in Latin America is that there was a racial caste system. So they had the Black people at the bottom, then they had indigenous folks, then they had mixed indigenous Black, then they had mixed indigenous then they had Black mixed European, then they had indigenous mixed European, and then they had European at the top, right? So this is the racial caste system. As you came up on the racial caste system, you were granted certain opportunities. So it basically incentivized people who were Black or indigenous to mix with Europeans in order to grant their future generations opportunity. This is called blanqueamiento. And so this is what happened in Latin America, which is almost the opposite of what was happening in the United States of America post-slavery, which was Jim Crow and the banning of interracial marriages and that being seen as something that was negative.
I'm gonna let Maya
real quick, and I'm gonna land my plane.
Let her finish.
So a lot of that internalized anti-Blackness exists because of that social conditioning in which the lighter you were, the more opportunities you were granted. So you were always seeking to better, quote unquote, your race so that you can be granted these opportunities. And now it is an internalized idea that many people have to work to undo. But to a large degree, many of the dark-skinned and very phenotypically presenting Black Latinos have been aware of the way in which they are treated. And so they have almost separated themselves so that they can fight for their rights to exist as Black people, since they are erased largely from Latin.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna let Maya go ahead, Maya.
Okay, can you answer again? I just want to make sure I heard you right before I answer.
Hold on, what'd you say?
Can you ask the question you asked a second ago again about?
Do you believe that social conditioning that the Portuguese did, that they used religion as a excuse to enslave the people, saying they're uncolonized, they need to be civilized? That social conditioning still around in Latin America today that makes people deny their Blackness? They don't want to claim that within their bloodline, or their African side.
I don't think I cannot personally speak to that because I'm white and Black. So I thought you asked something about, do you think that white people still to this day view Black people as you said something about how they view Black people. It was a question.
Oh, okay. So let me say, because I was going to say, I think that social conditioning, that racial hierarchy still exists in America, right? Where it's whiteness on top, Blackness. So I still think there is a racial category system in America too. It played out different in Latin America, but here in America, it's still around. It's still Black is on the bottom. White is on top.
There's a racial category system within the Black community in and of itself. And I've experienced that personally because obviously with colorism, like me being light skinned, whatever, I know a lot of other light-skinned girls that talk down about dark-skinned women, Black men that talk down on dark-skinned women, this and that, and that is from the caste system. Like the darker your skin is, the more you are this or this, and all these negative connotations around being darker. So it absolutely does still exist in this country. And I want to say that Jim Crow was probably the most detrimental when it came to how Black people were portrayed, because you got to think about it. Like these white people, think about being a white person, you've never been around a Black person in your life, and then you see these minstrel shows, and you see all these Jim Crow and the Miami posters. And right, so that's your first impression of Black people. The what's that movie, The Birth of America, something like that, where they were acting all animalistic. That's these people's first impression of Black people, and it has been carried through generation. So regardless of how, I was just on this live and I was talking about white people are inherently racist, and then this girl was like, racism is learned behavior. No, honestly, for white people, not being racist has to be a learned behavior, because you already have microaggressions and unexplicit, you know what I'm saying, just things that are basically programmed into your head from birth. Because you're
that's what
automatically
I'm
nurtured. That's how people are nurtured. If I'm only around Mexican people and I just go around just Mexican people, I'm gonna eventually distinguish. Hey, you're different. Therefore, you're weird. That's wrong.
Right.
That's nasty. And that's just it's on each individual family to have more inclusivity into the upbringing of these children so they can distinct. That's common. I like that. This life is a buffet of characteristics and qualities that I want to adopt. You know what I mean? Instead of, just a narrow-minded perspective as to what is right and what is wrong.
But you will see that social conditioning is definitely still apparent, because even you'll hear like microaggressions. Like you'll see a black woman speaker and a white lady will walk up to her and be like, "You speak so well," regardless of if you think that's a compliment or not. That is a microaggression. It's an inexplicit bias that you have programmed into your mind, and you've never been taught different. That's the difference. So social conditioning.
Yeah, I agree. I was saying that was my question earlier. Is racism a natural thing or is it a social programming?
I think for white people, it's inherently a natural thing that you have to be taught against. Because if your parents don't teach you not to be racist, it's normal to group in with your own kind. If we're being honest, it's normal to find people that look like you, and it's just human behavior. And if your parents don't teach you not to be racist, you might run into some racist white people, and then they make you be like, you know what I'm saying? Like it rubs off on you. So inherently, I think it is just automatically. I don't think it's a social conditioning for white people. I think it kind of just already is there because of the privilege that they have. I have privilege as a half black woman. I have privilege because I'm lighter. I can't even deny that. So there's definitely just something that you kind of are born with. If your parents don't teach you otherwise, That's
what I said though. I think that racism is fueled because it is natural for people to want to be around their own, like people who look like them. That is a natural thing. That's the natural part of it. But I think that it's fueled by ignorance and uneducation, right? Like if you're, that's the main issue that people are trying to combat: the ignorance and uneducation. So.
And the problem is white people. I notice a lot in their community that they don't care to really educate themselves on other life experiences.
It's like a bubble.
Yeah, like I know black people, for us, like you kind of want to learn about how different people live and different people's experiences so you can like relay that to yourself. But white people don't really have to. They're not required to do that because they're taught be anything you want to be, do anything you want to do, have anything you want to have. It's that privilege. So why would they educate themselves?
They feel like since they're the majority, then that's the only history that matters. That's the only education about people that look like them in the past. Like, I see what. It's definitely true.
My mom is a teacher, and she is in like a more country, like white predominant school. She's my white parent. My dad is black, so she came home and she told me, she's like, we were talking about Africa, and some kid made a comment about them being poor, and I had to clear it up, and I was like, no, like Africa is the most like they have so many like what's it called? Like elements and like diamonds and stuff. Africa is a really, really rich continent, regardless of what the media pushes. But that's what I'm saying is these kids hear things from their peers and they learn that. So as a parent, it's kind of your job to take initiative. If you have white kids and if you are white, to teach them, no, this is not really how it is. This is just how America was built. You feel me?
So that's my argument for why ethnicity matters, because we're combating this idea of whiteness. That's white, this racial hierarchy, because I don't know, but do you think people will naturally be like, well, I'm better than you? Like that's happened too, that people are like, well, I'm Irish and you're German, I'm better than you. But there wasn't like was there like a whole system? You guys think that they could build like a caste system based on ethnicity? You think
there was a racial hierarchy in Europe before like the whole thing with Africa.
But do you think there was a racial hierarchy or like it was like a class thing? Because they were all the same race. If you like all around white people, you're gonna build like a class system.
Because if it's all white people, they'll figure out how to divide themselves. So
they divide class, right? By class.
Like Nordics were the blonde hair, blue eyed. They're the elitists. That was
that's true. That's
even in Africa.
And then there was exactly. That's what I was trying to.
With apartheid in South Africa.
I can tag you guys when I go to African Lives when I talk to.
Hold on, what happened?
Did he get a call or something?
hold on. How do you? Hold on, I'm gonna go on to JE. I want to see what he has to say. Okay, are you have anything more to say about this topic?
No, I think I got it all off my chest.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead to JE so he can.
Yes, before Melanie left, I just wanted to touch on. She was completely correct. It was the Pope decided to draw a dividing line down the world, so the Portuguese could do business in Africa and the Spanish could do business in America. And the Portuguese started shipping people to the Canary Islands, and the Spanish would just pick them up on their way back to the Americas. That was the whole thing with that. But so in Europe, there was the Nordics, the Alpines, and the Mediterraneans, and that was the hierarchy. So the Nordics were on the top, and the Mediterraneans, who were like the brownish olive color, whatever, were on the bottom. Then they started getting together in the 1400s to say that they should all get together and just do that to Black people in Africa. That's what they did.
Yeah.
That's the conspiracy of race, of like, what is race? So that's their business. So